Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the Adaptive Cards Developer Community Call, the February 2020 edition. I'll be your host, but I've got a very exciting set of guest speakers in today. So you're in for a special treat on this community call. But before I dive in, I'm Matt Heidinger. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me in various channels we'll mention here. But I work on adaptive cards full time, and the people that we're gonna introduce today are some interns working on adaptive cards and have an exciting new preview of a product they've been working on recently. So with that, let's get started. We're just gonna go a quick look at the roadmap, do a small recap on what we've been talking about over the past 14 months. And then kick it over to our interns to show you a really exciting new product. So with that, let me switch over to this. So I wasn't going to start all the way back at what adaptive cards are, but I think one thing that might help paint the picture and the area we're trying to solve is I made this diagram I think last month, and it sort of helps, I think, paint the life cycle. So right now, you build an adaptive card in either the card designer. We have this template service, which you may have seen. I will recap that. And it effectively helps you build the adaptive card JSON. And then that JSON gets delivered to maybe an app like Teams or Outlook or your own apps, which then gets rendered on a platform like iOS, Android, whatever the app happens to be running in. So at the heart of it is this adaptive card JSON. And as it lands on either apps or devices, we're not actually going to focus anywhere on that area. Where we're focusing on right now is the left side of this arrow. How do you build that card JSON? How do you share or maybe collaborate with it? So I'll do a quick recap on what we offer today, and then I'll jump into the exciting new stuff that we're currently working on. So templating. We're going to talk a lot about it. It's important that you have a grasp on what an adaptive card template is. And I think the best way to learn that is to go to adaptivecards.io, that's our main website, and just click on samples. And we've got a whole bunch of adaptive card samples here. And this templating checkbox effectively turns what used to be our adaptive card samples into templated samples. And all a template is if you look at this classic adaptive card, this is not a template. You can see there's the text is right inside the text block and the image URL. Meaning if you want to use this card, reuse this same card, but with something else, maybe it's not publishing adaptive card schema, it's updating the database or whatever. You want to basically create a reusable card template. That's where templating comes in. So if you turn on this box, you'll see you have two JSON windows now, the data JSON and the template JSON. And where you previously saw the inline text, publish adaptive card schema, it's been replaced by this token, curly brace title, which is going to bind to your data. So you'll see as I scroll through this template, it's binding, this image is binding the URL property to the creator.profile image. And that maps up to the data, creator.profile image. And you can see you can do all sorts of things in the template itself, including some advanced stuff. Like if you look at a stock card, this stock card, for example, has some expressions in it where I can say the color of this text, if the change, as in the stock change, this is the data property, if the change is greater than 0, I want the color to be good. Otherwise, I want it to be attention. So you can write a pretty expressive template. And once you have that template, now you just need to pass it the data. And the data is maybe data you own, maybe it's data you got from another service, maybe it's you got it from somewhere else in your org. But you can combine those two together that then create an adaptive card. So that's a lap around templating. You can click this link here to learn more about templating and the types of things you can do. Earlier on, maybe 6 months ago, we introduced this concept of a template service. And from here on out, we're going to probably start referring to it as the public template service. But what this template service does is helps you find, get, and populate adaptive card templates from well-known data sources. For example, the Microsoft Graph. And in fact, where you can see that, if some of you are familiar with the Graph and you go to the Graph Explorer, you can go to the preview version of the Graph Explorer, hit Run Query. This helps you learn, the Graph Explorer helps you connect to the Graph, which gives you information about your organization. And it seems to be down right now while I'm trying to demo it. Hang on, let's go one more time. Run Query. No, okay, something's wrong with the preview version. But what you would see is this adaptive card section. Yes.
You have to log in to be able to use it. I had the same issue yesterday, and I logged in, and it was working as fine.
Okay, well, let me log in. Yeah, normally it had some sample data, but yeah.
Yes.
Ah, well, thank you for the tip.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Let's log in here. And now you guys will learn all about me. So what this is going to do, if this ends up going, it's not entirely important if this doesn't work. You'll still be able to follow along, I think. Okay, so now I'm logged in. I can hit Run Query. And what I'll get back is data. So this is me, my display name, my title, my email address. And you can do something with this. You can use it in your app. It's just data, you do whatever you want with it. But if you want to present it to a user, an adaptive card is a good way to do that. So if you click on this tab here, adaptive cards, you'll see it very quickly say fetching adaptive card. And that's hitting the template service, looking for a template that matches this data, and then displaying it. And that's powered by this GitHub repository called Adaptive Cards Templates. You can go into graph.microsoft.com. I can click on profile.json, and this is the profile card. So that template that you were just seeing in Graph Explorer is here, which is cool. So the Graph is a huge API, hundreds if not thousands of APIs. So there's hundreds if not thousands of templates. There's one for your profile. There's one for your mail. I actually shouldn't click on that one because it's my mail. But there's hundreds of these templates, and that works great for these public, well-known templates. But if you have your own templates in your organization, this doesn't really make sense. You don't want to just publish templates to this public GitHub repository. So with that said, that's where the interns have really dug in to figure out how can we take this concept of collaborating on these card templates, but not at the public level, at like maybe my own organization. And the final piece I'll say before I kick it over, last month I demoed a preview. It's not quite ready to deliver yet, but we'll see some of this in their demo. There is a way to connect to the service and Power Automate. So I can say, use this template, profile.json, pass this data from this previous step, get my profile, and then I can post it to adaptive cards. And I demoed that yesterday. So it's a really neat way from Power Automate without writing any code to use a template, pass it some data, send it to Teams. You can deliver an adaptive card into Teams without even having to write any code. So that was a quick tour around all that. Hopefully that made sense. And with that, we're going to kick it over to the folks in Vancouver. I sort of mentioned there's 6 interns who have been digging into this problem space, and they've been at this, I think, only like 3 weeks now. So I'm thoroughly impressed to see the progress they've made in that short couple of weeks. And they're with us through April 26th. So stay tuned in the coming months to see how this effort evolves. So with that said, you guys want to take it away?
Sure.
Thanks, Matt. Hello, everyone. Today, we are going to introduce a really exciting new component of Adaptive Card Service, which is Template Management System. We've been working on this for about a month or so, and we have 2 to 3 more months to go. So we thought it would be great if we can share what we're building so far and what we have so far. Any questions or feedback will really help us to tune our direction and improve our feature. So before we jumped in, this is us. We have 6 developers and 1 designer and 1 PM, and we're all located in Vancouver, Canada. Since Matt gave us a really nice explanation about what is adaptive cards and what is card templating service, so I'll skip this slide, this one, and the one next. Our product is related to adaptive card service, so I'll just briefly sum up what is adaptive card templating service. So adaptive card templating service is essentially decouples the data and then the layout. Templating allows you to write a reusable adapted card where you can feed in different data set. In this image, in the bottom left, you can see what we have defined a template. And then the data binding tag can be seen in the preview in this image. Each text tagged in a curly brackets, it's a data binding. These data bindings are populated with the database on the data provided in the bottom right side. So even though adapted cards and templating service has a strong benefits, there's some pain points with the current workflow. The user can be divided into two different parties. One is authoring side, who generate the adapted templates. The other is consuming side, who consume the templates and bind it with data and produce UI on their own apps. So authoring side can be a designer, front-end developer, or citizen developer who wants to create UI components using adapted card designer tool. And consuming side can be backend developer or anyone who planning to integrate adapted cards into their own app or platform. So the biggest pain point for authoring side is that there's no good place to manage their templates. So if you go to the designer tool, if you go back here, there's no save and share feature here. So if you want to save and share with other people, they need to store it in their local PC or OneDrive and share their links or files through emails or Teams. And for the consuming side, the biggest pain point is it requires a lot of repetitive work when the design gets updated. If authoring side updated the template, the consuming side needs to find JSON templates and then copy it and paste it into their current code base. So the authoring and consuming handoff is very inefficient and manual. So we're introducing the template management system to resolve that current pain points. Adapted Card CMS allow business users and professional developers to create, manage, and collaborate on adapted card templates. So Adapted Card CMS is composed of two different parts. First part is admin portal, where designer and UI developer or citizen developer can manage card templates. And then the second part is API feature, where developer can get the latest template through the API calls. I'll give you some examples that have similar framework to help you understand better. There is a proven need of web-based tool that help user to use specific software or product easier and more efficiently. So for example, Microsoft Boat Framework is a software where people can build a customized boat. Microsoft Boat Framework Composer is a web app that allows users to create boat easier without coding. So this web app truly brings up the value of Microsoft Bot Framework by providing a tool where users can build their Microsoft bot in a really simple way. Similar example would be the Alexa skills and voice flow. Alexa skills is a feature that user can create their own customized skills for Alexa. However, it is hard to create a new skill if user doesn't know how to code. So VoiceFlow provides a platform where user can create skills with drag and drop and publish it really easily. So what we want to do here is we want to provide user a web-based tool where user can use adapted card service easier and more efficiently. Now we're going to walk through each features along with demos. But before we jump into the demo, I wanted to point out the practical benefits of using adapted card CMS. So first, it will save your time and simplify your workflow. And second, it will facilitate collaboration. And lastly, it is easy to install and use it.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to go over a quick demo of the adaptive card service that we have right now. So I really want to emphasize that this will save time and simplify your workflow. And as Jessica touched upon before, this could be done without a lot of coding. So we have like kind of two trains of thought. I just want to show the first one where we are talking to a person that doesn't necessarily know how to code and wants to get involved with adaptive cards and bring UI to their product. First of all, I'll go over a quick example that we have. Say, for example, we want to create a weekly lunch survey for where we're going to go eat for lunch every Friday. This is a common thing in a lot of companies, I think. So I would, for example, want to poll the room what type of food they want to have. So like how I would normally do it would be like, hey guys, who's hungry? Please upvote for steak. Please upvote for chicken. Please upvote for tofu. And this is the kind of interaction I would get with other people within my team. And, they could go along and say, oh, Jess, I want steak. So she'll give it a thumbs up. This is the kind of response that we'll be getting and that we have to interact with. But of course, there's like limitations to this. Of course, like what if someone has a suggestion instead of, I don't want steak, I want like, I don't know, veal or something like that. It would be difficult to facilitate that kind of interaction with just this kind of workflow. So what we want to introduce is the adaptive card templating service. So as we can see here, this is our actual website. It is up. I want to remind you guys that we've only been working on this for like a month, so it's a little bit rough around the edges. But this is a template that we had created before, the steak, chicken, tofu template. I'm just going to go through the workflow of creating it again, just to show you like the overall idea that we're aiming for. If we see on the left side, we can go to new template, and this will open up the designer, which hopefully you guys are familiar with. So this is the designer that's taken from Matt's website. So it's exactly the same. Here we can modify the JSON like Matt was saying before, but just to be quick, I'm going to copy paste some JSON that I already wrote. So as you can see here, it renders the steak, chicken, tofu poll. And like Matt said before, this is actually a template. So if I want to reuse this every single week, I don't necessarily have to say steak, chicken, and tofu. I could change the fields to be like pizza, taco, and sushi, for example. And our goal is to make it as simple as pressing publish or save. So in this case, we press publish. And what this will do behind the scenes is actually create this card and push it to our backend API service. And then using an external tool such as Power Automate, which Matt touched upon earlier, we could really automate the workflow of having this poll sent to our team. So again, Power Automate is very similar to what Jess was talking about before with the web-based controls without having to do any coding. So as we see here, like these are all workflows. This is required like little to no code. It's very easy. So what we're going to do right now is we're just going to press test and run the workflow to see what happens. So as you can see here, it's rendering and connecting to the service, and it should be done now. So if we go back over to our teams, we should see that this exact card that we made popped up. So like we can actually interact with this in a more user-friendly way. So like, for example, on steak, we could select these different options like rare, medium rare, well done. For chicken, we can indicate if we're allergic to peanuts. And for tofu, we can indicate that we want it to be prepared vegan. And we can like add requests to these fields additionally. So it really helps the user gain information. And that was just a way that we're planning to use Power Automate and other tools like it to utilize adaptive cards. I just want to iterate that this was done without a lot of use of code. And I would like to just continue on to the next part of the slides. So to reiterate again, it should save time and simplify your workflow. And Harsh will touch upon later for the facilitation and collaboration and how easy it is to install. Here, this is what our final mock would look like. This is what we're thinking about having it look like long term. So as you can see, it renders like all these different cards that we have created before. And like you'd be able to search and sort by all the different cards that you have. And this is the simple mock-up. If you were to like click a card, you can see, for example, the version that you're on, the people that it's shared with, the owner of the card, how many times it's been used to get that telemetry data, and the recent updates and releases that we have. So I'm going to hand it back over to Harsh now, where he's going to continue the facilitate and collaboration part.
Hi guys, so as Kang said, I'm going to talk about the collaboration aspect, and we're going to focus on one of our customers who is more of an organization, and they have designers and developers that work with adaptive cards. More specifically, they're the Cortana team in Microsoft. So to give a little bit of background, the Cortana Skills team is located in London, UK, and they have a set of designers and developers that work on creating Cortana Skills. So a Cortana skill is basically for this desktop application in Cortana that you could see on the as an image on the slide. So essentially what these skills developers do is they make these skills where you can say, hey, what's the weather in the where I'm located right now? And it'll give you back an adaptive card populated with the weather data that is local to you. So these guys, they have designers that design these adaptive card templates, and then they have to pass it on to the developer so that they can integrate it into the Cortana skills and start using the adaptive cards. That sounds kind of straightforward, but they have a lot of pain points. So once a designer has made a template, they have to send it to the developer in some way, shape, or form. So what they're doing right now is that they're sending the JSON files through Teams, and the developer has to go through the whole Teams channel, find the latest design of the template that they want to use, copy paste it into their code base, and then they have to start data binding whatever data that they're trying to provide inside of the card. Whenever the designer wants to update the template, this whole process has to go over again. The designer has to update the template, copy the JSON, paste it on Teams, and the developer has to get it again. Now, these designers, they have hundreds and thousands of cards and templates that they have, and they're just organizing it locally, and it's kind of a mess because they have versions of separate cards, and the handoff between the designer and the developer is very convoluted because they have to send it over Teams, and they have to go through Teams messages to find which one they're looking for. We're hoping to fix this issue by using the Adaptive Card CMS and helping them with the handoff between the designer and the developer. So from the designer perspective, we're going to create a unified platform where it'll be easier for the designer to organize and manage their templates. So we're going to provide a feature where they can manage their templates using tagging so that they can tag their templates and organize them. And we're also going to provide searching functionality for them so that they can search on the platform. And there will be no more manual handoff to the developer. So once the designer says that, okay, this template is good, they can simply hit the publish button as Kang showed earlier, and it'll be published to the API. And like I said, it's going to be easy to update templates now and create versions. You can simply click on a template, say that you want to edit it, make your edits, and then publish again. And you are creating a new version of the template. In the image on the side, you can see that the blue squares are the designer workflows. And you can see using our portal, the designer workflow is a lot more simple, and we save on a lot of steps for the designer. So this is one of the mockups that we have for our application. This is what you would see if you're looking at a specific card. So you can see that right now we're looking at version 1.6 of this adaptive card. In the bottom right, you can see that there's multiple versions for this card. And we also have statistics for how many times each version is being hit. So a designer can see how popular one of their versions is, or how is the latest release of their version, how is the latest version doing in comparison to older versions of their adaptive card. They also have the option to edit from here. And you'll also see that there's a sharing mechanism. So like I said earlier, we want this platform to be a unified experience. So all your adaptive cards are managed on this platform. And to do that, we want you to be able to share your templates through this platform. So either you can provide a link to others so that they can access your adaptive card through the portal, or you can specify which people you want to share the adaptive card with. And those people will be notified that, hey, take a look at my adaptive card. From the developer perspective, there's no need to update code to consume the latest template from the designer. So like I said earlier, what was happening is that designers were updating their adaptive card templates, and then the developer had to rework their code to take in the new template and then make sure the data binds correctly to the new template. And there was a cost to the developer of the new design. Using our API, all the developer has to do is pull the template from the API and then embed the data bindings in. So now there's no cost for the developer when there's a new update from the designer perspective. So this code example, it looks very, very big. Basically what's happening here is that this is the way you would be consuming a template right now from the designer. The first variable, as you can see, is the template definition. And in the bottom half, you're doing the data binding and publishing the adaptive card. Every time that there's a change to the template, you would have to update this code and make sure that everything is stable. Now what you can do using our API is you simply have to instantiate the API, ask for the template that you want by the template ID. We might provide different ways to ask for templates, but this is the proposed solution right now. You just simply have to provide the template ID of the template that you want, and then you can just do the data bindings and publish your adaptive card. So in this example here, the developer is agreeing to consume the latest version of the template. So whenever there's an update from the designer side, or the designer makes a new version, the developer won't have to do anything. They can simply just say, I want the latest version. And whenever there's a latest version, that's the version that is shown on production code.
Lastly, I'm going to explain that it is easy to install and use. Our service is truly easy to install and use. It will integrate really well in your current workflow. So we will planning to deploy our project as an NPM package. So all you need to do if you want to use our product in the future, you need to install our Adaptive Card CMS NPM package and instantiate the client and server side. And then you can import our service and then using our API service right away. And also I wanted to point it out that our project is open source, so you can check out our GitHub repository to see our code base. This is all we have for today. Before we move on to the questions, I wanted to point out a couple of things. First of all, we have survey, which is really, really important for us. So we will truly, truly appreciate it if you can take some time to do our survey. It's not that long. It's only 7 questions. You can finish it in less than 3 minutes. And the data that we will collect will be really important and really valuable for us. So we'll be really appreciated. Go to the survey link and then please fill out the survey and submit it. And this is our GitHub repository URL. So if you want to check out our code base, you can go there. And then lastly, I'm Jessica. So I'm a PM of our team. If you wanted to talk to us, we can definitely make a separate meeting and then go dive into the details. Just email me at t-sohuh@microsoft.com. That's my email. Just reach out to me. Then we can definitely set another meeting. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute it and then ask a questions, or you guys can ask questions through chats. We can check it and then we can cover it.
I put the survey link in the chat as well. And yeah, so that was basically all that I had for today. So we can, like Jessica said, open it up to any kind of discussion if people have thoughts. Thanks, guys, for sharing a really early look at what you're trying to solve. Yeah, anyone should feel free to unmute if they're curious on any of this or have any thoughts. Or just chat if you don't feel like speaking.
Yeah, does versioning and publishing, does that make sense to you guys? It's a little bit difficult to understand it, if you listen to it the first time.
Yeah, the versioning I think will be the best thing we can learn from these folks. So if you don't feel like speaking up in this meeting, absolutely reach out to Jessica. Because yeah, that designer developer handoff, we're trying to, Adaptive Cards always tries to skirt this line to be flexible enough to adapt to any workflow or any work environment. So that's why we continue delivering in things like the Power Automate connector and things like that. So this service is taking that challenge to the next level because we're really trying to build this portal such that you can embed it into your own app, your own workflows, could be a web app, it could be, whatever it is. And finding out how you guys work today, how organizations work today is going to be critical to providing just that right amount of flexibility.
Hey, this is Ryan from Primera. We use adaptive cards across several different instances, and our goal is to be able to link, templating to a design system that works and renders natively across Android, iOS, the web, and Teams. And I think that the work that you're doing, and we certainly want to dive into it some more, there's a little mismatch for us right now in terms of being able to support that with everything renders and maintain it on our end. But I think that the problems that you're trying to solve and the way that you're trying to go about it certainly supports what our end goal, we hope, is, which is the ability to support multiple development teams in rendering these types of UI snippets consistently, and then also invite more citizen developers and designers to be able to create things in a workflow that can then go into it. A lot of this is supported both in a virtual assistant, but also might power some level of personalization so that small bits of information about your health plan is really beautifully rendered and consistent across channels. So we'll certainly dive in and give feedback, but I'm thankful that you all are spending the time to look at this problem.
Yeah, thank you for the feedback.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Good seeing you. Glad you hopped on the call. Maybe I should head out to visit you again, or maybe when they're in town, we'll find a time to, because you're so close. I feel like I should see you more often.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hi, This is Olu. I'm a developer from London, working for Victoria Asset Management. So it's actually my first time on this call. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining.
Yeah. So I was just going to ask, so this, I guess you guys, the interns, you're working on the CMS for this system. And I guess what you've described is quite a bit of a bottleneck. And what's the real scope in terms of like the growth of the CMS? Like obviously solving this problem, the version you're working on right now is going to be some kind of beta, but is there going to be a pipeline for that CMS becoming something quite big, robust, like the system? Like, is that going to be the main way that people are going to be actually creating adaptive cards in the future? Or what's the plan? Is it just you're kind of just seeing how to solve the problem right now? I was just wondering about that.
Jess,
thanks
do you
for the
want to
question.
take, you guys take a stab at what you plan on doing in the internship, and then I'll fill in what is going to happen afterwards.
Yeah.
So, like I said before, we're only here for 4 months, 3 months left, actually. So right now we have a couple of concrete goals in mind, such as helping out the Cortana team specifically, because we've defined that as one of our core customers. But we want to make the portal and like the API as robust as possible, so that later on Matt's team, or hopefully at the end of our internship, you could be able to hit the endpoints from different services and different, like, even languages. We want to really make it robust and easy to use. And we really hope that we'll be able to get there. But I guess Matt will talk a bit more about how he plans to keep it going after we finish our internship.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. So yeah, the interesting thing is I don't have an answer for you, really. The thing that I'll say, the main thing, and why we're specifically making sure this is open source. Adaptive cards we have a good community, but it's very hard to contribute code to the adaptive cards runtimes. Basically to ship a feature, you would have to implement it on iOS, Android, and there's not a lot of people that have expertise in all those stacks. So we're really hoping that this is a good opportunity. It's a single stack that we can really engage with this community and really make this a collaborative effort, if we can't put a ton of weight behind it immediately after the internship. So we're still trying to figure that out. Adoption on this, excitement on it, is really going to help me make the case to the powers that be that we should keep solving this thing. So your feedback, customer feedback, is going to be critical to help me kind of make that case.
So you're saying that if we're kind of responding more, giving you more feedback, there's more chance of the actual CMS becoming more of a thing and becoming
yes, absolutely
more integrated. Okay,
yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I mean, it looks really good. I mean, I was just so I'm on this call with my line manager as well, and I was just asking about the flexibility and look and feel and things like that. Seems quite powerful. Seems like you can do a lot of things. But like you're saying, it really does, I guess, depend how many people are using it and what kind of feedback we're giving you. But it looks like good stuff. And yeah, I've liked what I've seen today. So
cool.
So yeah, definitely.
Great. Well, find us again next month, and hopefully we'll have. Yeah, I'm like I said, I mentioned it. I'm pretty impressed with what they were able to do in the last. I don't even know if it's been a full month that they've been on this project, but. So hopefully by the end of it, we will have one stack, the JavaScript stack in particular, that will be, as Kang was saying,
cool.
Production-ish ready.
Yeah. And one other question. I mean, in terms of like making new templates, you were talking about the designer and the developer working together. I mean, where do you envisage the responsibility lying in terms of like how things look, and then is it mainly that the designer is just basically saying what's going to appear, what's the order in terms of the hierarchy and fonts and things like that, and then the developer is creating all of the code, the templates, or is there really like a clear distinction in terms of what people are doing in that kind of process of creating the templates?
Go ahead.
Okay, Matt, you can go ahead.
So you ask a question that it has thousands of different answers. It just really depends on the org. Sometimes it's the same person. Sometimes there's a ton of red tape between getting a template to production. I mean, with what even they showed, the designer, you could log into this portal, and just like a traditional content management system, it has the ability to publish something, and that effectively, depending on how the developer asked for it, and as Harsh was going into, if they're just saying, give me the last version, you've effectively just, now users are going to see it in production. So we need to figure out what level of, and the API should facilitate that. So the developer ultimately in charge of the code would request the template, in the way that meets whatever requirements they have. So if they're comfortable saying, yeah, as soon as you publish, it's live, or maybe they really want to go into the code and say, give me version 1.2, and as soon as I want 1.4, I'll specifically ask for version 1.4, and then they really want to make sure that the code is in control. Really, we want to facilitate all of those workflows.
Okay, that's fine. Cool, awesome.
I just wanted to add on really quick to what Matt said. Earlier on, we were showing the sharing feature. We think that could help facilitate a little bit of, the designer-developer communication, just to show that, okay, this is what I'm going to post. These are the fields that you need to look through. Just make sure that, you have an understanding of what that is. Yeah. We also want to answer a few questions that we have in the chat. So I'll hand it over to Jess.
Yeah, so we have a question that in Microsoft Teams, is there any way to send an adaptive card one-to-one? For example, from a team app, I wanted to send a message to a person in an org. So I'm just going to take a screen. This is the flow that I made using the Power Automate. This looks complicated because we didn't create our private connector. So if you go to the connector, Matt already have a nice connector, private connector that connects adaptive card backend service and then render it in adaptive cards. See,
I don't think they'll be able to see. Oh, you can see it. Yeah, I haven't published it yet.
So yeah. So if you want to render it adaptive card to Teams channel, you need two connector, one for adaptive card binding templates and data, and then generate the adaptive card UI. And then the second connector will be related to Teams, that it will render adaptive cards on Teams channel. So.
And I think a quick correction on there. I think there, in addition to what Jessica's saying, you can send it to a channel, but there is another option and a different action type where you can send it directly to a user as well.
Yeah, and I think that's deprecated right now.
I think there's
Thomas, can I just jump in with a small?
Please, Thomas.
Today, when you want to generate an adaptive card from Flow to Teams, there are 4 actions already. 2 are allowing you to generate just an adaptive card and send it to either a user or a channel. And there are 2 new more that appeared just in January that allows you to generate adaptive card and send it to Teams or a user and then wait for the response. So you can send a form and then get data back from the form to the Flow.
Yeah.
I think, this one.
So this one is just posting an adaptive card, but there is the new action that is called post an adaptive card and wait for the response, which is really cool and is very fresh new thing.
Yeah, so that's an important thing somewhat related to this. This is a huge feature people have been asking for. I know Thomas in particular had been asking for it. This now lets you can click an action on the card, a button, and it'll continue.
Yes, and sorry, Matt, and just one last thing.
Yeah.
If you turn on preview features, these experimental features in Flow, then instead of a text box to input a JSON of an adaptive card, you'll be able to open an adaptive card designer and templating features right from Microsoft Power Automate.
I haven't actually, I haven't talked about that yet, because do you know, does everyone have access to that experimental features?
It's under preview features, experimental features, and it's on regular tenants, or maybe.
Okay.
I also have that available, so it's.
Oh, awesome. I haven't talked about that much because I didn't know if it was broadly available.
Yeah. So you can try to turn on experimental features in Flow. This is the gear icon. And
yeah, let me pull that up real quick. Okay, so yeah, let me walk through that to people. This is a slight tangent, but it's exciting to share because people have been asking about this for a long time. So if I pull over Flow, I'll turn it on. You guys see if it works. So what I went into is the gear. So if you use Power Automate today, go into the gear, click View All Settings, turn on Experimental Features, and hit Save. Oh, okay. Hang on. Let me be English here. In Australia, huh? No, that's the one. Okay, hopefully that's saved. So now if I go to my flows, this is cool. I actually haven't seen this myself. Go into this. I like this team one. I will edit this flow. And with any luck, I will see the card designer integrated into yet another tool. So if I open this, so
you need to use this action post an adaptive card to teams and wait, because this is the like in this new action.
I see. And wait for a response. So this, to answer that person's question, you can post it to a channel or post to a user. You can do whichever you prefer.
And then you have templating service. I mean, templating features, because you can define the data source, and it's really working like a charm.
There we go. Okay, cool. So yeah, I can say I want to put it into this team, into this channel, and then I can presumably put in, so is this the data here? And then yes. I can click on Adaptive Card Editor, and just like you saw it in the portal there, you could build a card here. And again, this will work. We'll continue to support this. If you just want to quickly make a card template, use it from Flow, that's great. Once the adaptive card management system is out, we'll have a simpler step for people that want to just connect to connect to that template, load it up here, and build it. So you'll be able to build it directly in Flow or connect to that backend and kind of marry the two together there as well. So again, we're just trying to figure out whatever the best way works for you. They'll have plenty of options with what we end up delivering.
Hey, Matt, there's a couple more questions with regard to this. Is it also available with Logic apps or only Flow?
As far as I know, only in Flow.
Yep, Thomas just said Flow too.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Lou asked this question: are there any plans to bring the ability to post adaptive cards with straight up Graph API calls rather than having to go through Power Automate? Right now, if you want to do that, you have to do it via a bot, which is overkill just to send a card in, or by using Power Automate, which isn't really fully programmatic.
I see. So into Teams.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that. I think right now, bots are the way. You can, Tim, you might even know more on this as you built, the app for teamwork. I know you can build things like messaging extensions, and there are different extensibility points. But if you want a card to show up in the chat, I'm pretty sure that has to come from a bot.
Yeah, I think so. Well, if I get the question right, at least, if you want to fetch any data from Graph and post it as a card into Teams, there's no way to get around the bot right now. You have to have something in between, which is either Power Automate or your own bot.
Right. And that's, I'm sure a lot of that is to kind of speculate is there's an authentication and a trust system there, and Teams, Teams is a completely compliant piece of software, which means the data, there's all sorts of reasons that I think having it go through that infrastructure, I can appreciate that it does feel like overkill if you're trying to achieve something simple, which is why I think Power Automate is a good compromise, but there's just a lot of things that sort of require it to go through that infrastructure, if I had to kind of speculate. Were there any other
I just want to mention one more time that there is a survey link.
Yeah.
I posted on chat, and it won't take a long time. It will take maybe 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and it will help us a lot to prioritize our features. So please go to the link and then fill out and submit it. It will help us a lot. Thank you.
Okay. We'll
Awesome.
also put that link in the blog post that will be posted in the next couple days, and we will send the link out via tweet on our Microsoft 365 dev channel. So there will be multiple ways that you'll be able to get to that link, and your feedback is super, super appreciated, especially for this great intern team who's been working really hard already and has 3 great more months.
You're too good to us, Dana.
Feedback always appreciated if you didn't get that yet. In every way, whether it's feedback on this particular topic or if there's other topics you'd like to see here in this community call, or community calls in general. We have a number of calls, if you're not aware, across the Microsoft 365 developer platform.
Yeah, I guess I didn't get back to my slides, but at this point we're kind of wrapping up, so
that's quite okay.
We'll have to point to the blog post.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's wrap it up. Thanks everyone for joining the call. We really appreciate your time. Hopefully you liked what you saw. Thank you so much to this fantastic group of interns. I'm excited to see what we have next month. Thank you everyone for giving feedback on the call, and we look forward to hearing from you next time. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.